What's up, guys? Welcome back to the channel. Welcome back to the Bianconeri Zone for a new update. And apparently, Elkann, the big boss, is done. He's done with the past. Not just with Allegri, but just the past in general. That's a new story. So that goes beyond coaching, but he wants a new way of doing things, basically. And the first step was obviously bringing in Giuntoli last summer. He pushed for it, and I think it was very obvious that he said, "You are the guy that needs to get us out of it." And now it will be up to Giuntoli, part of it, to get us out of it. So that's what we're going to talk about real quickly in this one. Before we jump into it, hit the like button. It really helps the channel out. So get at least to 80 likes. Should be easy. Subscribe to the channel, close to 5K. Hit that bell notification, and let's jump into the news report. Before I get into it, the news story is from Riccardo Meloni, and for the people who do not know him, he works for calciomercato.it. Now, I know people will say, and I get why, oh, he works for Calciomercato, blah, blah, blah. Shout out to him because he's doing a very good job. He's doing actually a brilliant job lately about, how he just reports things, first of all. That's very important. And also the way he and what news he breaks, and how do you want to say that? How clean he is with reporting his news as well. So shout out to him. He's doing a good job. So the news story is Elkann being done with the past. So I'll read it out first because there are different layers in the story, which we will tackle. He said John Elkann is maturing the conviction that he must break away from the past. At the end of the season, there will be a farewell with Allegri, the last great legacy of Andrea Agnelli's management. The decision to bring in Cristiano Giuntoli last summer was the initial step towards a new technical management within the club. Once the season concludes, the completion of the revolution will be pursued. Regarding the next coach, the intention might be to opt for a fresh face. That excludes Antonio Conte. Thiago Motta is leading the race at this moment in time. John Elkann is not inclined to let go of Juve, all the reports about selling, and he's heavily invested in the club's future. The first major decision concerns the technical leadership. So different layers to go into. We'll read out the first thing: break away from the past. It's very strange because Agnelli literally has shares in the club. He has. And I think a lot of people still have the feeling that, Andrea will be back one day, and that might be true, but I don't think it's anytime soon. I think everybody has good memories and some bad memories with Agnelli, like especially the last couple of years. It felt like he was kind of moving away from what the essence is of the club, and we're still a football club, and the fans were kind of pushed a bit to the side, which is weird because what he was doing off the pitch was to create a broader fan base. But the core fan base, I think all of you felt like a bit abandoned. It felt we got away from what this club was about. So you can look at the good things and you can look at the bad things about Agnelli. The key thing that's missing now is there was a leader. No matter what you think about it, what do you think of what he was leading, basically, he was in charge. He was leading, and we can talk about decisions, good and bad decision, but the fact that he was leading and everybody knew on planet Earth that he was leading that club. If you need to answer the question now, who's leading the club, you have no idea. And that's an issue, especially in this moment, to be honest, with everything that's happening, where's the club? Nobody's speaking. You don't hear Giuntoli really. You don't hear the president, Ferrero, and Scanavino as well. Doubt these guys have actually any knowledge about the game, in terms of how to conduct yourself in the world of football. They don't, keep in mind, Agnelli, when he took on the presidency, he's been in and around the club ever since he was born. Like, he was on training when he was a kid. Like, he grew up in the club. He saw it all. He knew how to manage a club. These guys do not. And that is a big issue. it is a big issue, and that's very important as well. Like, you can bring in a good coach, a good sporting director, but if you have nobody at the top, it will crumble, because certain things should be dealt with by the president or his associates, not the sporting director, not the coach. And now you have the feeling that Allegri is in total control and he can do whatever he wants because you don't hear anything. And that's an issue, beyond who's going to be the next coach or who are we going to sign. At the top, it needs to be clear who's, quote unquote, in charge in terms of off the field stuff, financially and all those things. But it feels weak. It feels like it feels like a scam at this moment in time, like a pyramid scheme. Nobody really knows who's at the top at this moment in time. However, sporting wise, it's Giuntoli, and John Elkann made that extremely clear last summer when he pushed for Giuntoli, even when there were good reports from very good sources suggesting that Allegri was like, no, I don't want him to come in. Elkann said, I don't care what you want. He's the guy I want to lead the sporting project of this club. So that's the first thing in that report, basically saying, I'm done with everything Agnelli has done. We're going to move on. Do I believe that completely? Not really. I think they're done with Allegri because, well, it's been poor for 3 years. There's no other way. I don't think it has anything really to do with Agnelli's legacy, if I'm being completely honest. Now, the second part is that what I just touched on already, that Giuntoli is in charge. He brought him in. He's going to need to lead the team. I saw a lot of people being angry with Giuntoli. I can see why, because he's absent a little bit, in the front of the media, but I don't expect him to say, we're going to sack Allegri right now. But I do expect him to speak in this situation about what's needed, like make a strong statement, even if it's a little jab towards Allegri saying, hey, he's in charge. We need to get this back on track, because we need to get Champions League. It's essential for this club to get Champions League. Financially, not getting Champions League will set us back a full year or two. Like, I'm not even kidding. Financially, this can be a complete disaster this season, because you're going to move on from Allegri. You're going to pay close to 15 million for his associates and him, and you're missing out on money. You still need money off the Champions League. So it's a big hit, if big loss if you don't get into the Champions League. But I see people being angry with Giuntoli. I can see the frustration because in January we were all expecting something different and it didn't happen. And you might say that cost us. We can debate that. But I said I'll give him 2 seasons, 2 summers. This one, because it's his first summer. And I think it's fair to give him a full summer, which is not easy because he's gonna need to deal with contracts expiring, all those things, players who need to sign or on free, whatever, weeding out players and work with a very limited budget. That's also what he needs to do, which is not easy. That's summer 1. Summer 2 is, and it's in jeopardy, but summer 2 is Champions League money, World Cup money kicks in. But at this rate, the only thing certain is World Cup money. Champions League money is still not certain. But that's why I said 2 summers, because I think that's fair. I don't think it's fair to judge him on him signing Timothy Weah when he just came in and we had absolutely no money to spend. I don't think it's really fair. Was it a good signing? No, I think we all at the time said whatever, not really needed. Alcaraz, very strange deal. Diallo, who knows? Who knows at this moment in time? So that's the second part of the story. The third part is a fresh new face. That's what I always have been saying. I want something new. I see why people are saying bringing in Antonio Conte. I can see that point. But I would be a hypocrite if I would say now, yeah, Antonio Conte, because I always said I want something new, something fresh. And again, I'm not saying I want Thiago Motta 100% certain. I see why people want Motta. I also see why people are concerned about potentially signing Thiago Motta. It's a risk. It is a risk. Is he a high-profile manager? No, I don't have an issue with that, by the way. I don't have an issue with that. Has he done it for a couple of seasons? You might say, no, not enough. Genoa, not enough. Is he doing an excellent job now? Yes. Could it be a one-off? who knows? You know, people say Gasperini, look at him, but he never got a job. Gasperini's a bit different. He got a job in the past, not in an ideal situation at Inter, but he couldn't manage a group of players, you know, at a big club. That was very clear. Maybe now he deserves a shot, but I don't think he's going to take that job. I don't think anyone's going to take the shot with him anymore as well, you know, because of the age. However, the club, or apparently John Elkann, is of the same opinion, saying, okay, if we're going to do this, we're going to do it a fresh way, you know, completely new. Giuntoli, you make that decision. You choose what you think is a direction to go for the next couple of seasons, and we can build something sustainable, you know. And if you think it's Thiago Motta, if you think Thiago Motta is the new it guy, then sure. And what I don't like at this moment in time is that people are now asking for us, oh, let's see if he can win next season. Nobody was saying that this season. Like, nobody was expecting us to win this season in year 3. So I don't think that's fair towards Thiago Motta potentially if he comes in, or even Italiano or Palladino, whatever. Because it's not 100% certain that if we're going to move on, it's Thiago Motta. It's not even 100% certain we're going to move on from Allegri. That's just the general feeling at this moment in time. However, I think Thiago Motta is a leading candidate because he plays a brand of football that's pleasing on the eye, but it's not extreme. It's not deservy. It's not heavy possession like Man City. It's not suffocating pressure and lightning quick counterattack like Liverpool, a bit more in the past. So it's balanced. Like, it's really balanced, and he improves a lot of players. And I think that's what the club is looking for. It needs to be good on the eye. There needs to be improvement. Younger players need to improve also to potentially sell them on, because that's where we are as a club. We cannot sign, name it, Vlahovic again for 70 plus million. Like, we cannot do that. Higuain, 100 mil. We're not in the situation. So players are going to need to be improved. And the players we bring in have probably a lot of room to improvement unless we sign a few free agents, which I expect and which I think we need to do, because we need much and we don't have much to spend, basically. So I think that's why the club is looking at something completely new. And to top it off, he said, or the story said, that John Elkann is not inclined to move on from Juve, basically. All the rumors about gonna sell the club, you know, and this is gonna happen, that's gonna happen. I think that all those rumors were shipped away, were brushed aside, and I think the big takeaway of the last year or so is that he's not gonna sell the club. However, he's extremely open, actually, maybe a bit desperate, to bring in a partner, basically a person or a group or a brand, whatever, who's gonna invest in the club as well and have some shares in the club, or a big portion of the shares as well. I think that's the way he wants to go long term. I don't think they're going to sell the club. It would be like, if you own something for so long, 100 and plus years, and it's been so close to the family, like literally, like actually, like you have, like, it's not, oh, you own, like they own the New York Times, I think, or the Washington Post, one of the two. They have shares in, or they own it for the majority. I might be lying. It's Washington Post or the New York Times. One of the two it is, I think. They're not invested in that. Like, they own it. They have it in the portfolio of Exor, but they're not really invested in that. In this, they are. Like, they grew up with the club. Like, literally. Like, Andrea Agnelli grew up in training sessions with the club. So it's different. I think it's extremely difficult for them to sell. You know, I think it's something they can not sell just purely on an emotional basis. However, it's not like owning the Washington, like the Washington Post has not million of supporters. They potentially have million of readers. However, the readers are not passionate. Like, like they're not support. Like, they're not emotion. Like, it's the news. It's the news. You read the news in the newspaper, and you prefer a newspaper because, yeah, they're slightly politic tinted a little bit. However, it's different than a club. That the club, that John Elkann, we can never forget. Like, emotions are in play when you own a football club. That he needs to remember. He cannot forget, and he cannot forget what this club is about. You know, the club for him, or for Exor, actually costs the club money. Like, It's just a good asset to have to get loans and all those things. And when you potentially, like I said, you potentially go get a loan or whatever, you can say, this is us. We own that 1 billion or billion euro worth company club. We own that, and doors will get open. I'm not a financial advisor, but it's easier to get loans and all those things when you have those type of um, how do you call it, assets. And Juve, how like no matter how poor we have been lately, it's one of the biggest assets in sports world. Like it is. It's one of the biggest clubs in the world. It's one of the well-known club in the world for 100 years. Like rival fans can banter, whatever. It is what it is. Like it's the biggest club, one of the biggest clubs in the world, massive fan base. They cannot forget that. Like he cannot forget that, you know. And at the end of the day, it's all about winning. If Thiago Motta comes in, I want you to improve the team, compete. You need to compete. It's still Juve, but I need to see improvement. And hey, if it's not next season, because I'm not expecting that, the following seasons, the more players you get, the more you get involved, the more expectations rise. And if you cannot cut it, it is what it is. That's just how the club works. That's how it should work. And I'm not saying go from manager to manager, because lately it wasn't good. It wasn't good. So I can see why they also stick with Allegri a little bit. But you also need to admit when it's time to admit that, okay, this is not working. Is it all on Allegri? Absolutely not. You know, if you want to compete, it's not all on Allegri, because the team is not good enough to compete to win. Let's call it win, because competing, I think still it is. It shouldn't be this far off. However, 3 years in, the improvement lacks extremely, and that goes beyond like actually winning. So let's see what will happen in the next couple of days, weeks, whatever you want to call it. But that's actually a good story. It's from a good source. So let me know in the comments what you think about it. Like the video. Let's push to 80 likes, I said, at least. Subscribe to the channel. And I will see you guys later tonight.